Hi guys, the image you're seeing right now has been making rounds on the internet for the last few days, and those are the pictures of the Nobel laureates who has won the Nobel Prize in Physics in the year 2018. I'm just going to talk about some interesting trivia that actually I found out after knowing. Now, the name of the three special people this time was Arthur Ashkin, and I'm going to talk about some of the interesting facts. Arthur Ashkin was actually born in the year 1922, so he's going to be 100 years of age in the year 2022, or that's 4 years from now. So obviously, it's a long journey that definitely he has done in the world of physics. And the inventions that are being made was in the field of laser physics. In here, the Nobel Prize. Actually, each of the participants, if they are single owner, actually wins a prize amount of 9 million Swedish krona. But since there were three owners, so three winners, so we'll basically they've divided the prize money. Half of the money goes to Arthur Ashkin, and the remaining half has been divided between the two. Gerard Mourou and Donna Strickland. Well, Gerard Mourou was the PhD guide of Donna Strickland, and in fact, Gerard Mourou and Donna Strickland had this paper when Donna was pursuing her PhD in the year 1985. The publication was there. Now, both of them has. I'll also discuss the papers because of which actually the Nobel Prize was set in. You can see this the groundbreaking invention in the field of laser physics that has been the heading that has been given released in the press release of the Nobel Prize page. And both work has been actually path-breaking in the field of laser physics. It's interesting to see that both the work has been done in the year 1970s and 1980s. As far as Arthur Ashkin sir is concerned, he has published a paper in the year 1970, you can say, in PRL, one of the most reputed journals, and that actually talked about the acceleration and trapping of particles by radiation pressure. Now, in fact, this is a very interesting concept here, because at that time, having high intensity laser was difficult. At the same time, the application of laser was also limited. But nowadays, we can see that more or less a lot of laser application has been used. The beauty of this work was that in fact it can be done for used for trapping, let's say, viruses, small atoms, particles in the form of using some radiation pressure. Lasers are basically nothing but radiations, and their pressure or their property can be used actually to trap those viruses and other living cells. In fact, the work has also been done where by Sir Ashkin, where he has trapped bacteria. So this new tool was actually an old dream, and it was kind of science fiction at that time, but it has come to reality, and it has been used more or less now. So laser world was actually revolutionized by the use of this particular paper, which was published in this very reputed journal. The next paper was that of the PhD work of Donna Strickland ma'am and Gerard Mourou sir, and they actually had this publication in the year 1985. You can see this is in the year 1985, and the most interesting part was that this publication came out in the journal of Elsevier, which is optics communication, which hardly has an impact factor of about 1.6 for now. So the work was very significant, but it was I'm sure that no one expected that this will actually come out to be so much of significance because of the application, enormous application it had in the later years. In fact, the word chirped optical pulses was the term which was actually coined at that time. So it was chirped pulse amplification. The beauty of this was high intensity lasers were generated without, in fact, damaging the amplifying material, which might be a problem in laser application. Actually, this was a very much a new technique at that time, and with the times to come, it has been used more and more. So it was ultra short, and it was ultra short high intensity laser pulses, and it was compressed, very much compressed in time. So these are the two publications based on which they have been awarded in the Nobel Prize in the year 2018. And it's thrilling that a work that has been done some 30 years back can actually fetch you a Nobel Prize. This this is really inspiring, and that's what I wanted to discuss. Lasers, as of for those who are not very much aware of this or not from the field of physics, lasers are having immense application. In fact, you are having your CD writing, copying, and everything. Those things are based on lasers. You have surgery. So this particular stuff that we are talking about, amplified chirped optical pulses, are actually used nowadays for eye surgery. Now, in the yesteryears, the eye surgery was actually a very difficult task because you have to manually do a lot of cutting, and it had to be a lot of mechanical stress was put onto the eye and its nearby areas. But using lasers, the mechanical stress is not there. Hence, the operations that are being done using lasers has become more and more safe. So obviously, we must all of us must be very much thankful to these great scientists who have actually come up with these beautiful inventions. To give you some more info on three of them, Sir Arthur Ashkin was actually born in New York, USA, and he has done his PhD there in 1952 from Cornell University, Ithaca. And so Gerard Moreau was born in France, but he is settled in the USA. And Donna Strickland, ma'am, she was born in the year 1959 in Canada, and she has done a PhD in the year 1989 from the University of Rochester, USA again. So all of three of them are the great Americans, because of whom actually we are having present day advantages of and a lot of facilities which deals with laser. So that's what I wanted to say about them. And definitely, if you go through the net, you can definitely find these publications, and they're very interesting. In fact, the physical review later is just a two and a half page article, and it gives a very clear picture of what the work was exactly all about. And similarly to do with this, in fact, this paper was the PhD work of Donna ma'am. So that's even more fascinating. Yeah. So with that, I'll end this. I hope I can give you more trivia on some important things that are happening in the academics around the world.